Cradle, Dogs of Fount, Chapter 37, Part 2. The weird thing was that Porter saw no money being exchanged, so he made his way to the line to get a free radio. Porter couldn't pick up on what was being said at the point of sale, but he did keep on hearing the word free in life being repeated time and time again. Once it was his turn, he saw a long list on a sheet of paper with surnames and corresponding numbers that were in an accompanying column. The 20-something guy had an exaggerated wide smile exposing a small booger in his nose. Porter couldn't look at him straight without smiling. Want a free path into a better life at school and at home, bud? The worker asked. Are you giving away free radios? Porter asked. In a way, but so much more. The worker took one of the radios out and placed it on the foldable table between them two. The radio was substantially thicker and had a small window on the front that looked like it had something removable inside. What this is what we call a dual. It is a radio and it plays a new form of tech that is called a cassette. And that's not even half of it. What's your name? Porter was caught off guard and didn't feel as comfortable as he felt a moment ago, but he obliged. Porter. Last name too, dude. The man was already looking at his long sheet. Guild. The guy zeroed in on a number that lined up with some of the letters of Porter's name. The employee looked back at another on the team at the back of the van with stacks of boxes of the cassettes and called out, "We got a B152 up here." And momentarily a worker brought a cassette in a plastic case to the table. The guy dealing with Porter pulled out a white plastic bag with FaithNet printed in blue on the front, and there looked to be something somewhat thick brochure inside. He then placed the dual radio in the bag and then Porter's cassette. I just need your signature here, man, the dude asked. Porter was beginning to become weary of this whole transaction, but the promise of new tech made all of it okay. Porter signed his name on what looked like a fine print legal contract, and the man handed him the bag. Your copy of the agreement is folded in the back of the brochure in your bag. Enjoy your new life. Porter couldn't put his finger on what was wrong with the worker, but there seemed to be underlying stress, and he had a slight accent that Porter had never heard from any Fountain, but Porter guessed he was still young and hadn't been around long enough. He wanted to wait until he got to the bus shelter to check all this stuff out, but he was sort of giddy that he got all this stuff for free, and he had all the rest of the day to do what he wanted. He was sitting next to an elderly woman with shopping bags of food, and she smiled at him when she caught him wondering why all the prune juice. He put the headphones to his ears and figured out how to insert the cassette after flipping it a few times. He heard a light hiss and then a slight click. You're probably wondering what all of this is. The trick is just to listen and observe the first 2 weeks. A confident man spoke with an affect that gave an impression of being respectful and of good or harmless nature. Schoolwork is going to pile up starting next week, and you're going to want to put the harder stuff off for the last minute. You've been doing that all throughout your studies, but it is time for a change. Attack the tough mathematics first and give yourself breaks during the assignments. 5-minute breaks for every 20 minutes. The man went on for about 10 minutes with all of his confident advice, and it wasn't until Porter had finished the tape that he wondered how they keyed in on habits and thoughts that Porter normally had so accurately. It wasn't scary though, it was fascinating, and the dual radio looked so cool and futuristic. The bus came and he was proud to be listening to the radio while knowing how to get better grades with his new strategy. It was odd to think about that no one really talked about life outside of church. Porter guessed that maybe the reason that whoever got the name FaithNet from. It was almost like having a personal pastor talk about stuff other than God and right and wrong. It was advice that Porter was actually interested about. As the bus got further into the heart of Dearden, he noted that he saw at least 2 more of the FaithNet pop-up tents on the corners where kids and college students like to hang out. He thought about Inez and wanted her to have picked up a dual too, so he could see if this was a sort of scam. He wondered if she got the same advice due to their age or whatever those numbers meant. He was starving now and walked down the street from the bus stop with urgency. He could see from the end of the block that he'd be home alone, and that was fine with him for the time being, as long as there was some food.